How's it going? I'm Miles. Welcome to the Guitarjet YouTube channel, and today I'm going to tell you about my 3 favorite guitar scale books. And you really don't need that many guitar scale books because once you understand guitar scale fundamentals, then you won't need to read the books at all. But anyways, let's dive right into it. And we're going to start by talking about the first guitar scale book I ever got. I got it from a thrift store, and then I learned that a lot of my friends have this book, and it's called Monster Scales and Modes by Dave Celentano, I believe is his name. Yeah, Dave Celentano. And I'll have a link to all these books in the description below so you can easily find them. But anyways, this book is stupidly simple. It's pretty thin, as you can see. And it just goes through and shows you a bunch of fretboard diagrams. So like this is the Lydian mode fretboard diagrams. And it explains simple scale fundamentals in the beginning. And it also shows you major scales, minor scales, pentatonic scales, and at the end of the book, it has one of my favorite sections, which is the exotic scales section. And as you can see here, it goes through a bunch of very unique exotic scales, like the enigmatic scale and some other weird ones, the P-log, the Oriental, the Kumoi. I actually use the Kumoi scale, the Japanese scale, often, and I have a video about that, and that is called the exotic pentatonic scale. So anyways, if you just want a book full of fretboard diagrams that also teaches you the basics of normal major scales, pentatonic scales, modes, and then dives into some exotic scales, Monster Scales and Modes is an awesome book. And the next book that I got was Pentatonic Concepts, because who doesn't like the pentatonic scale as a guitar player? And Steve Kahn, what he noticed is that there were some jazzers using a pentatonic scale that he calls the dominant pentatonic scale, and so he teaches that. And then he also shows you how you can take the pentatonic scale and play it over specific chords. So like, for example, if you're in the key of E minor, in E minor, there's like a B minor pentatonic scale, and you could play B minor pentatonic over a C major chord, an E minor chord. I mean, it dives into all that in the book, but it's a very good book for learning advanced pentatonic concepts, also for learning other pentatonic scales, like the dominant pentatonic scales, and for learning how you can play pentatonic scales over certain chord types, like what type of scenarios you can use the pentatonic scale in. So, really interesting book, Pentatonic Concepts by Steve Kahn, K-H-A-N. And then the last scale book that I got was Ron Middlebrook's Scales and Modes in the Beginning. And this book does have no tablature. There's no tablature in this book. It's all traditional notation, but it does have fretboard diagrams. So fear not. And you don't need to be an exceptional music reader. You don't have to know how to sight read. You just need to know the fundamentals, FACE, every good boy deserves fudge, that type of deal. But if you can look here, like you have the Aeolian mode and the fretboard diagrams and a description, and it talks about how it's like known as the pure minor, the relative minor, the natural minor, and that's because there are different names for certain scales. And so Ron Middlebrook does a good job at telling you those names. But when you look at Mixolydian, there's no other names because Mixolydian is only known as Mixolydian or as the 5th mode of the major scale. Pretty simple, right? And this book seriously covers every scale you need to know. Every single scale you need to know. And it also covers fundamental scale theory and fretboard visualization. So as you can see right here, it's like got the traditional 3 notes per string fretboard diagrams, and the 3 notes per string system is my personal favorite system for visualizing the entire fretboard. And then, of course, if you look at the contents, it goes over the fretboard visualization, scale terminology, scales and modes, and then a scale to chord guide, which of course puts the scales up against the chords. And with fretboard visualization, you go through the cage system and the 3 notes per string system, And also, you'll learn the names of the notes on the fretboard. So overall, an incredible book. This is like an encyclopedia of guitar scales. So a very underrated book, I would say, too. I learned about this book from my former guitar teacher, and I don't really find it many other places on the web. So overall, those are the 3 books: Monster Scales and Modes by Dave Celentano, Pentatonic Concepts by Steve Kahn, Scales and Modes in the Beginning by Ron Middlebrook, and make sure that you, well, if you want to buy these books, just look at the links in the description below. And if you like this video, definitely subscribe. And if you have any questions, then leave them below. Leave a comment below. Thanks for watching, and have an awesome day.